Welcome to the Explainer. Today we're tackling one of the most vivid and, let's be honest, intense passages in the entire Bible, the seven trumpets of Revelation. Now it's filled with cosmic chaos and some really strange imagery, but I promise you it's not as random as it might seem. There's actually a key that unlocks the whole thing, and it reveals a powerful and surprisingly clear story. Okay, so here's our roadmap. First, we're going to see how this vision fits into the book's bigger structure. Then we'll find you could call it the decoder ring for all this wild imagery. And it connects to a super famous Old Testament story. From there, we'll walk through the escalating judgments, see where God's people fit into all this chaos. And finally, we'll get to the ultimate proclamation of victory. Let's dive in.
You know, it all kicks off right here. The seventh and final seal is broken. And what happens? Nothing. Just silence. For about half an hour, all of heaven just goes completely quiet. This isn't just a pause, you guys. This is pure dramatic tension. It's like the deep breath the whole universe takes right before everything is about to get shaken up.
So, to really get a grip on the trumpets, we first have to kind of zoom out. The book of Revelation isn't a simple straight-line story from A to B to C. Nope, it's built on this really brilliant repeating structure. You see, the author, John, basically tells us the story of what's coming 3 different times, each from a slightly different perspective. So think of it less like a single timeline and more like 3 overlapping cycles. Each one adds a little more detail, building on the last one until we get the full picture of God's plan.
And here they are, the 3 big cycles, the 7 seals, the 7 trumpets, and the 7 bowls. Our journey today plops us right in the middle of that second cycle, the 7 trumpets, which you'll find in chapters 8 through 11. So what's the key? How do we understand all this wild imagery of fire and darkness and locusts? Well, this right here, this is the decoder ring for the entire vision. John hooks all of these future events to a story that his original audience would have known by heart.
And here is that central idea. The trumpet plagues aren't just random acts of destruction. Not at all. John is intentionally framing this whole sequence as a second Exodus. He's systematically echoing the 10 plagues God sent on Egypt way back when. It's like history isn't just repeating, it's rhyming. And wow, when you see them laid out side by side like this, the imagery of Revelation just clicks, doesn't it? The first trumpet's hail and fire, that's a direct echo of the plague on Egypt. The fourth trumpet's darkness, it mirrors the 9th plague perfectly. Once you see this, you can't unsee it. This is the key.
So these first 4 trumpets, they follow this very distinct rhythm. They all target creation itself, the land, the sea, the rivers, the sky. And you gotta notice that recurring fraction, 1/3. It keeps popping up. This is a huge clue. It's symbolic, showing us that this is a severe but still limited judgment. Think of it like a devastating warning shot, designed not to destroy the world, but to get its attention.
But right after that 4th trumpet sounds, the entire mood of the vision just shifts. An alarm goes off in heaven, and the judgments escalate from these warnings against nature to something much, much more direct and personal.
I mean, John sees an eagle flying across the sky, literally screaming this terrifying 3 triple woe. This is a major turning point in the story. It's a flashing red light for the reader, signaling that the next 3 trumpets, the final 3, well, they're on a whole different level of intensity.
And the escalation is just stark. You can see it right here. We've moved from judgments on the environment, kind of indirect impacts, to judgments unleashed directly onto people. These aren't just warnings anymore. They're active torments, and they're being carried out by demonic forces released from the abyss.
So the 5th and 6th trumpets unleash these 2 huge demonic assaults. The first woe is this horde of what look like locusts, but they're demonic, and they come from the abyss, led by a king named Abaddon, which means destroyer. Their job is to torment people, but not to kill them. But then the second woe, it's even worse. A supernatural army of 200 million horsemen is let loose, and their mission is explicit: kill 1/3 of humanity.
And this right here might be one of the most shocking parts of the entire vision. Because just like Pharaoh in the original Exodus story who kept hardening his heart, humanity's response to these absolutely horrific judgments isn't repentance, it's defiance. The whole point of the warnings, to turn people back to God, is flat out rejected.
So right here, when the tension is at its absolute peak, we're stuck between that second and third great woe, the action suddenly hits the pause button. John inserts what scholars call an interlude to answer a really critical question that's probably been bugging you this whole time.
I mean, it's a fair question, right?
Amidst all this cosmic chaos and judgment, where are God's people? Are they just caught in the crossfire? Have they been forgotten? Well, that is the exact question this little break in the action is designed to answer. The focus shifts from judgment onto the role of the faithful.
And the answer is that their mission is far from over. First, John is told to literally eat a little scroll. It's a symbol for receiving and internalizing God's prophetic word. It tastes sweet because it's from God, but it's bitter to digest because that message includes judgment. And then this mission is embodied by these figures called the two witnesses, a powerful symbol for the church continuing its prophetic work, even on a hostile planet.
And would you look at the kind of authority these witnesses have? Their powers are meant to make you think of two of the greatest prophets in Israel's history, Elijah, who can control the rain, and of course, Moses, who brought the plagues on Egypt. The message is crystal clear. The church's testimony carries the very authority of God himself.
Okay, so after that interlude, after we've checked in on God's people, the stage is now set for the climax. The third and final woe is coming. It arrives with the blast of the seventh trumpet. And what we hear is probably not what you'd expect.
And here's the incredible twist. After all that buildup, after all the woes and plagues, you're expecting the biggest, baddest plague of them all, right? But that's not what happens. The seventh trumpet is totally different. It's not another plague, it's a proclamation. It announces that the conflict is over, the case is closed, God's kingdom is now fully and finally established.
This is the sound of the seventh trumpet. It's not fire and brimstone, it's loud voices in heaven making this triumphant declaration. It is the ultimate resolution, the moment that all of human history has been building towards. Game over.
So let's just bring it all together for a second. The vision of the seven trumpets is not just a bunch of chaotic, scary images, it's actually a masterfully structured story. It uses the pattern of the Exodus to tell a story of escalating warnings. It assures believers that they have a crucial mission even in the middle of all the turmoil, and it culminates not in more destruction, but in the triumphant proclamation of God's final and eternal victory.
And that leaves us with a final thought to chew on. This ancient vision, with all of its jarring symbols of judgment, was ultimately written to give its readers an unshakable hope. It makes the argument that no matter how chaotic or out of control the world seems, history isn't random. It's actually headed somewhere, toward a triumphant conclusion. So the question for us is, how does that perspective challenge the way we see the world and our own place in it today?